as we've talked and gone through this week, we've summarized and re-hit the first half of the state principle, the what we are discussing. We are stating our facts, telling our story, and we're asking for somebody else's story. These are the what we are doing. But now let's focus more into how we want to do it. Now, we've talked about how we want to continue to be humble as our heart posture going into it. But the last two letters of the STATE acronym, talking tentatively and encouraging testing, is a fuller application of how humility can help us practice telling our story, asking for somebody else's story well. So the first thing that we want to talk through is the T principle of STATE. How do we talk tentatively? Because we're not trying to be weak in our conversation. We're not trying to be timid. If I am, I'm not going to convey the seriousness of how important this conversation is, right? And one of the ways that we can often do that is as we're talking, we undercut ourselves. Well, it's really not that important to me, or it's probably not a big deal, right? This is already undervalued all that you are trying to bring to the table. And essentially it's ensuring that the seriousness of the conversation is already not putting you where you are. And in our analogy that we've used so far, as we discuss, if we're lost in the woods, we want to know where we are. As soon as we talk timid instead of tentative, we are giving people the wrong impression of where we are. We can't get the help because we've not expressed just how important it is that our directions are being, our sense of lostness is being heard. And so we don't want to undercut ourselves, but we also don't want to overemphasize anything, right? Communication can be so tricky in this way because though I might say everything I need to say, if I don't say it well, or if I don't say it with the right body language, well, it might fall on deaf ears. So as I talk tentatively, I'm trying to be cautious to ensure that as I'm talking, I have the other person in mind so that I am watching them to make sure that they are not going into fight or flight, that they feel loved throughout the encounter, even if there is conflict, and making sure that I'm not being hostile or pulling away. I want to make sure that the measure of the conflict is felt and real while still ensuring that I am here. And that's a fine line to walk. It's tricky, but it can come with practice. So let's learn to engage to talk tentatively, hold the line of talking well so that we can engage and move through the conversation without flaring up into big dramatic moments or pushing somebody into silence. One of the ways that we do this then is, right, calming our body language, making sure that we continue to have a humble heart, praying before we go into conversation that the Spirit might guide us. And then finally, the last thing that we want to do, the how skill, is we want to encourage testing, because this encourages in us the opportunity for humility. We want to tell somebody that, hey, as we're having this very crucial conversation, as we're having this conflict, I want to know your place in this. And if they're not willing to kind of share, there's so many things that we can do to help push that narrative a little bit further so that we can try to have the conversation that we want to have. One of the ways that we can do that is to invite opposing opinions and say to them, look, I may very well be wrong. Is there anything that I'm missing? Please tell me. Is there another opportunity for you to share with me what I may be doing wrong? Please let me give you that in this conversation. Please let me open the door for that. Then, right, if they're even continuing to remain silent, we can play our own devil's advocate. Hold on to the fact that, like, hey, I may believe that this is a very important thing that I believe to be true, but I could be wrong, and it might be because of this reason, right? And so playing devil's advocate being your own enemy inside the conversation might make them feel more comfortable to share their opinion. Encourage the opportunity to have your words, your placement in this conversation tested. Because again, we never want to remain lost in the woods. We always want to be able to give ourselves the opportunity to find our way back to reality. And whether or not we're helping somebody else reach reality or we are going back to reality, that's not so much for us to say, so much it is, let's make sure that as we have these conversations, we're coming back into fullness of love, embracing humility, stating our facts, telling our story, asking others for their story, making sure that as we do this whole thing, we are talking well, talking tentatively, and then encourage testing always to say, hey, I am open to criticism. I am open to hear your opinion, and I would love to hear it. Hopefully these are some tools that you can help put into your toolbox as you continue to have conversations for the rest of your life, because there is no conversation without conflict. And someday you may need these tools, and I pray that they're readily available to you.